Hello, welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. I'm your host, Dr. James J.C. Cooley, and I am excited about today's show because I think this topic needs to be talked about. There's so much negative press and so many people thinking all crazy about the relationship between our police forces and our communities. And I think it's really need to be talked about because I don't believe it's like that. I believe that the relationship is a lot closer. But we got some experts on that's going to talk about, giving, working together, teamwork among communities and the police force. But before we do anything, I want to always get the radio portion going so we can lock in with the television as well. Todd, let's do it.
It's Your Life is sponsored by James J.C. Cooley.
Life is a series of circles and cycles, phases and stages. These are your experiences that teach you the lessons of life. You can either ignore them or embrace them. Welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's Your Life. James is a motivational speaker, author, military veteran, and founder of the James Cooley Foundation. James is here to equip you to strive for greatness and to overcome adversity. It's time to get equipped today for the challenges of tomorrow. Now, here's the host of It's Your Life, James Cooley.
Hello, welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's Your Life. I'm your host, Dr. James J.C. Cooley, and we got a very exciting show for you today. I mean, I'm looking forward to this. I actually been looking forward to it for almost a week now, and we're going to talk about something that I think is so dear to all of our communities, to our police forces, to everyone, that partnership and teamwork is there. And you just have to really believe, you have to want to work together, and we have to get rid of a lot of the stigmas that are out there as it relate to fear and as it relate to all police officers are bad and they're not working with the community. That's not true. That's not true. What are your thoughts on that, Todd?
No, I think this is going to be a great show, and I mean, everybody has their own experience, but I have always had a positive experience growing up in San Diego with the police and the involvement in the community. So it should be that way across the board.
It should be, and I think that with these two young gentlemen that we have on the show today are going to bring some enlightenment to all of us, and I'm just looking forward to the conversation. But before I do anything, I can't even start the show without bringing on Dr. Michelle Cooley, the executive producer and co-host. How you doing today, Doc? How you doing?
I'm doing great. And as I'm going to reiterate exactly what you said, I'm looking forward to this show because, in today's world, it's always the negative that's reported. There's never about anything that people are doing good and helping others. I mean, we've got these guests today, two amazing guests, and this nonprofit organization that they have formed and just brought together, and how they are serving the communities and improving the relationships between law enforcement and the communities that they do serve. So I'm definitely looking forward to this. And like I said, audience, if you want to participate, please send in or type in your comments, and also call in, right, Todd?
You can
call
in
1-866-577-2473. That's 1-866-577-2473.
And just like I said, we encourage everybody to be part of this, and regardless of which platform you're watching this on, whether you're watching on television, E360, Transverse TV, YouTube, and over 25 plus other live streaming network, big part of the conversation. Michelle, I cannot wait to get this show started. Can you tell our viewers and our listeners the title of the show, the purpose of the show, and introduce these two great guests?
Yes, the title of today's show is BlueBridge Alliance, Strengthening Relationships Between Law Enforcement Officers and the Communities They Serve. And we're getting to know co-founder and CEO Brian Spracklen and retired police chief Ken Hohenberg. We're going to talk about the concept and the backstory for the BlueBridge Alliance program and how it provides the infrastructure and ongoing support to help put the program in place and be successful. We're going to talk about the funding, the goal to have each agency establish an ongoing program to become self-sufficient via local and community donations, and how the funds are used for community outreach. So let's talk about Our guest today, Brian Spracklen, has over 20 years in business strategy and innovation. He has worked with some of the largest companies, including Samsung, Coca-Cola, Hershey's, and many more, serving almost 10 years as managing director of Maverick Innovation Strategies, a boutique consulting house. He specializes in helping small to mid-sized technology startups scale from concept to exit through acquisition. Chief Ken Hohenberg is a 43-year veteran with the Kennewick Police Department. He was appointed chief of police in 2003, retiring in 2022. He completed his bachelor's degree in law and justice at Central Washington University and did postgraduate work at the University of Virginia while attending the FBI Academy in Quantico, Virginia. Besides being an FBI National Academy graduate, he graduated from Police Executive Research Forum Senior Management Institute for Police at Boston University and the FBI's Law Enforcement Executive Development School. He was an active member of the Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs, serving as an active member and past president. Let's bring on these two amazing guests, Brian Spracklen and retired police chief Ken Hohenberg, to the show. Thank you, gentlemen.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Hey, this is the moment where, excitement is we are excited. So, but first of all, can each one of you, we'll start with you first, Brian. Can you tell our viewers and our listeners a little bit about you, where you grew up at, and just why you're so passionate about what you do?
Sure. So I actually grew up in Montana, but I've lived all over the country in Texas, in Florida, in New York, New Jersey area, and of course in San Diego, where I spent 12 years, and that's actually where we kind of got this program ideated. And I come from the technology industry, but I come from a law enforcement family. My dad was in law enforcement, and my uncle was in law enforcement, and he actually started back in the 70s at Kennewick Police Department with Chief Hohenberg, and that's how Chief and I know each other.
Wow. Hey, Chief, can you tell our viewers a little bit about you, a little bit about your background? Because I see.
Unlike Brian, that's moved all over the country, I'm one of those that were homegrown in the Tri-Cities. I was born and raised in Richland, which is a neighboring jurisdiction to Kennewick in the Tri-City area in southeastern Washington State. And my mom tells me that I wanted to be a police officer when I was 2 years old. And matter of fact, my first grade teacher even confirmed that by a note that I'd written when I was in her classroom about what I wanted to be when I grew up. And some people tease me and say, well, maybe someday you will be a police officer. But I did that. I was fortunate enough. Kennewick tested first. I got hired in the region that I grew up, and I just been blessed to have a long career that I've enjoyed and had the honor of serving the public for almost 44 years. So, it was a dream come true for me.
Wow. So, Brian, based on your past experience with the companies you worked with, how did it prepare you to become? And we're going to dive into BlueBridge Alliance, but how did your past experience prepare you to become co-founder and CEO of BlueBridge Alliance?
Oh wow, that's that's an interesting question that I could give a long answer to, but I think in the interest of time, we all, every single one of us evolves as we go along professionally. And, if I would have tried to do this 20 years ago, or even 15 years ago, I think, I lacked, I wasn't quite there in terms of maturity in leadership and in understanding some of the different variables that go into running an organization. And nonprofit is still just like a business in a lot of ways. You still have, finance stuff that has to happen. You still have, the setup of the program itself, making sure that you're continuing to refine it, making sure that you're learning from challenges that you have, and continuing to always evolve and make things better as you go along. So I think that it was cumulatively over time having exposure to all of those different pieces and then being able to be at a place where I'm able to put those pieces all together and create something that hopefully we can leave a legacy for long after we're gone.
Wow. And Chief, you got an extensive background that we talked about. But Chief, can you tell us some of the lessons that you learned about yourself and about people that you served that made you and that make you the person that you are today?
Sure. Doctor, one of the things when I was first appointed chief in 2003, and of course I came up through the ranks of the police department, right? I was patrol officer, I was training officer, I was Kennewick's first dare officer. I was patrol sergeant leading the squad. I was our first internal affairs lieutenant, investigating police misconduct. I ran detectives as a captain, and I was a patrol commander, and eventually the assistant chief, and then chief. And so I grew up within my agency, and even although Kennewick was always a good department, I think we hired good people. When I became chief, I even increased our hiring standards because I realized very quickly the more thorough that we vetted out men and women that came into our organization that truly understood the core values of public service and truly wanted to help people, which is the core mission of the police, our complaints would go down, right? It's not rocket science stuff. You hire people that truly understand the core values of public service, that truly want to go out and make a difference, that truly want to help people, which I said was our core mission, and other things start to fall into place. And so I spent a lot of time with my various elevator messages that I would have as I would move from squad to squad or throughout divisions within the department, talking about how we treat people. And the fact that, a lot of people talk about law enforcement treating people with dignity and respect. And I always said, there's another leg to that. It's a dignity, respect, and fairness. And that applies.
Hold that thought right there, Chief, because we got to take a station break. But I love that dignity, respect, and fairness. And I tell you, we're going to take a station break, but we're going to come back. We're going to pick this conversation up, and we're going to take it to another level. If you want to be part of the conversation, all you do is go to the phone line, 1-866-577-2473, or whichever mechanism you're watching on, whichever platform, just go to the comments. Ask these two great men any question you like. It's Your Life. I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley. We'll be back shortly after the break.
There's more stories of greatness to help you overcome adversity coming up on It's Your Life with James Cooley. A nonprofit distance of community.
never be the same. Cooley lays out his struggle to adjust from city life to country life and back again, sharing his hard-earned lessons to educate, encourage, and enlighten our next generation of leaders and heroes. Get your copy of Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by James J.C. Cooley, available on Amazon and everywhere books are sold.
Streaming now at theanswersandiego.com and odyssey.com.
Life is a series of circles and cycles, phases and stages. These are your experiences that teach you the lessons of life. You can either ignore them or embrace them. Welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. Dr. James Cooley is a motivational speaker, author, military veteran, and founder of the J.C. Cooley Foundation. Dr. Cooley is here to equip you to strive for greatness and overcome adversity. It's time to get equipped today for the challenges of tomorrow. Now, here's the host of It's Your Life, Dr. James Cooley.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I tell you, it's getting ready to heat up in here. I can tell. This is exciting, and anytime that you have law enforcement, you have the communities working together, and you have that cohesiveness and teamwork, you can only make things better, and you can only bring trust back. And a lot of times, I'll be honest with you, I think the media is most of the time the problem in dividing and keeping trust from people that need to be together. So that's just my 2 cents on it. And viewers out there, I want to know what yours are. If you want to be part of the conversation, pick up the phone, 1-866-577-2473, or go to the platform and ask any question that you like.
Gentlemen, how did the BlueBridge Alliance program all got started, and how did both of you gentlemen got involved in this? So either one of you, you can start first. Brian, Chief.
Sure.
Brian.
Sure. So, as I mentioned before, I spent several years in San Diego, in the tech industry, and in 2011, I woke up just like any other day, and I used to like to turn the local news on, and see what's going on in the community. And one morning I saw, or the evening before, an officer with San Diego Police Department, and some of you listening in the San Diego area probably remember this, Officer Henwood, who was murdered while he was sitting in his vehicle eating dinner. And the surveillance video from before that showed him in McDonald's, and it was like 5 minutes earlier, and he's in McDonald's, he's sitting there ordering his food, and he looks next to him, and he sees this little guy from the neighborhood who's counting out pennies to buy himself something to eat. And Officer Henwood, says, "Hey, I gotcha," and he pays for this little guy's food. And that's the type of officer that Officer Henwood was. But me being from a law enforcement family, I know that's the law enforcement officers that I've always known are the same type of people. And so it got me thinking a lot about how officers are constantly doing that type of thing. They're pulling out of their own pockets just to help people or make a connection in the community. And so I started thinking about, what if there was a community supported fund for officers to be able to do these types of things? And I was thinking about technologies that I was working with at the time. Frankly, I just got busy with life for a while, but this idea just kept knocking around in my head constantly. And one day I was talking to my uncle, just catching up on the phone, and I said, I have this idea that's been just killing me. And pardon me, I told him about it, exactly what I just told you. And I said, I've been thinking about reaching out to Chief Hohenberg and seeing what he, thinks about this. And my uncle said, well, shoot, I'm having breakfast with Chief Hohenberg in the morning and a couple other guys from the community. And why don't I just float the idea and see what they think about it? And so he called me later that afternoon after they had breakfast. He says, Brian, you're not going to believe this, but everybody loved this idea. And all four of us pledged $1,000 into putting this program together in Kennewick. And we're going to see if we can't, make a go of it. And so full disclosure, that was pretty much all I had to do with things at that point. But Chief Hohenberg was great enough to send me constant updates about how officers were really connecting with the program. And so, at this point, I'll turn it over to Chief Hohenberg and talk about how things went from there.
Yes, Chief.
Thank you. And Brian's correct. It was in 2015. I'd started a foundation within our police department, as many law enforcement agencies have across the country. And they were really struggling to try to find a cause. And when Brian's uncle had shared the story with me about the San Diego officer, I had a situation in Kennewick. It's not as dramatic, but it still is point on about how officers will help people. We had a motor officer that had investigated a drunk driver that actually went up on the sidewalk and hit a small child. And he was from one of our more challenging neighborhoods in Kennewick. And the officer had to seize his tennis shoes as evidence because it had scuff marks, and it was part of the investigation. And it was this young man's only tennis shoes. And so the officer went over, it happened near a sporting goods store, and the officer went over to the sporting goods store, reached into his own pocket, and ended up buying the young man a new pair of shoes and put him on his motorcycle, his police motorcycle, took a picture, and the kid had the biggest smile, grinning from ear to ear, and took a bad experience. And his dad was so proud of, his son having a new pair of shoes, and sprouted the Kentucky Police Department, and really internalized to me. I knew this was going on, where officers would do this. I did it as a police officer when I was on the road. The problem is oftentimes, an officer may be working night shift or whatever, and they've got $40 or $50 in their pocket, and they have to make a decision. Am I going to spend the money helping this person, or am I going to give my kid money for lunch, school the next morning, or whatever it may be? And so as we were having breakfast and we were talking about this, I mentioned, well, if we raise the money, we could put it in a restricted account, and we could fund it so that officers would have access. And one of the three of us that were having breakfast is a realtor here in the Tri-Cities, and he goes, I'll back the credit cards. And I'm like, I don't really want you to back the credit cards, but we were all just inspired about creating an opportunity for these officers to be able to go out and not have to reach in their own pocket. And I also believe that, as the chief of police, if I believe in the program, then I got to put my money where my mouth is. And so, as Brian said, we all kicked in $1,000 to get this started. And then my friend that's a realtor hit up a lot of his business associates over the next 2 weeks, and our $3,000 turned into $15,000. And then we started, with people's permission, we would post on our Facebook, and we would share some of the stories, and I'd share them with Brian about what was going on in Kennewick. And that money quickly started to grow within the community. We're blessed to have a supportive community here in the Tri-Cities. And people love the idea of law enforcement being able to see an immediate need and to be able to take care of that immediate need. And as you know, both the doctors that are on here provide hope for people, provide hope to people that had no place else to turn at the time. And it could be 2:00 in the morning on a Sunday or 2:00 in the afternoon on a Tuesday. It didn't make any difference. We empowered our police officers to be able to go out and do what they're supposed to do, make a difference.
Wow, that's so amazing. So, when you started this program, and Chief, you got involved in this, like Dr. Cooley said, there's been so much negative press about the relationship between law enforcement and their communities that they serve. In your opinion, do you believe that television and social media is exasperating the negative and just not looking at the good that the law enforcement does within their communities? What are your thoughts on that, Brian, and then Chief?
Well, I think, as we all know, we live in a time where, what is it that press people say? If it bleeds, it leads. And, so they're all vying for market share, and I think that oftentimes they believe that telling the stories that that make people cringe tend to do that, but that creates some of that, and I think that we all agree that there can't be enough good stories, and so we're trying to create that. We're trying to create good stories, and see if we can't flip that script a little bit.
What are your thoughts, Chief?
No, I agree. I think it's easy to capitalize on negative things that happen, right? I mean, even locally here in the Tri-Cities, you have a homicide, you have an officer-involved shooting, whatever it may be, that's going to be center stage. And, the feel-good stories, the reality of what goes on more often day to day across this country is just great policing, where police officers across this country understand that their core job is to help people. And I've hired hundreds of people over the years and been involved in the process. And, when you ask people, why do you want to be a police officer? The common answer is they want to help people. And when I hired police officers in Kennewick, I reminded them that was their fundamental duty. We go out and make a difference, and we help people. We figure, because people have no place else to turn. And I think it's easy for people to capitalize on the negative, and sometimes there is disconnects between law enforcement agencies and communities. And sometimes agencies have hired the wrong people under the best of circumstances. We've weeded people out after, that's what probation period is for. That's what the police academy is for. But you go through the best hiring practices, and still sometimes you still get somebody that shouldn't be a police officer. And hopefully agencies have a way of weeding those people out even after they've gone through the initial process. But back to the topic, I noticed a big change in our officers' attitude when they knew that they were empowered to go out and make a difference. I was at a city staff meeting where I got called by a sergeant where there had been a stolen vehicle, and the father had inadvertently left the keys in the car, and it got stolen, and another agency ended up in pursuit of the stolen vehicle. The van got wrecked, and it was beyond repair. And I got a call from the supervisor, and the officers wanted to know if we could buy a car. And I'm
Hey,
like,
hold that thought,
that's a
Chief.
big look, right?
I
But
want
we
to
figured
pick it up when
a way
we
to
get back.
partner up with-
Yeah, we got to take a station break. Want to pick it up. I want to see that you guys buy that car when we get back. So if you want to be part of the conversation, just go to the comments and just ask any question, or also pick up the phone, 1-866-577-2473. It's Your Life. I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley. We'll be back shortly after the break.
There's more stories of greatness to help you overcome adversity coming up on It's Your Life with James Cooley.
There's much truth in a journey that ain't over yet, as all of us journey through life's
to the you.
For granted, now I know that
Odyssey.com.
Life is a series of circles and cycles, phases and stages. These are your experiences that teach you the lessons of life. You can either ignore them or embrace them. Welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. Dr. James Cooley is a motivational speaker, author, military veteran, and founder of the J.C. Cooley Foundation. Dr. Cooley is here to equip you to strive for greatness and overcome adversity. It's time to get equipped today for the challenges of tomorrow. Now, here's the host of It's Your Life, Dr. James Cooley.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and just sitting back, understanding, loving the stories. Can't wait to Chief finish up about the van story. So we're gonna pick it back up with that, and then we're gonna get off into this alliance, BlueBridge, and find out exactly how things got started and how things are moving forward, and goals that Brian and the Chief want to achieve. But first of all, Chief, I had to take a station break, but I really want to hear the rest of that van story. So can you pick it up?
Mm-hmm.
So real quickly, and it's hard because these are real life situations that police officers are placed in, and the investigating officer, he goes to this home and they had just come back from Children's Hospital in Seattle. Baby's got a feeding tube in his stomach, and they've lost their family transportation, and they've got to go back over to Children's Hospital during the holidays. And, thankfully, through partnerships and great business support, we were able to replace that vehicle for them. We got them an SUV that was actually better than what they had before. And Toyota, the Tri-Cities, and my realtor friend and our foundation kicked in. And when we met with them out at the Toyota dealership, I had the officer that originally investigated the theft of the vehicle. I had him give the keys to the folks, and it was a young Hispanic family. And the guy looked over at me and he said, he goes, "I never thought anybody would buy me a car, but I never thought the cops would do that." And he was just amazed, right? But going back to the whole philosophy of what BlueBridge does, and when it comes to building trust between the community and the police, this has just been an excellent opportunity to demonstrate our core values, what we believe in, and what policing is about across this great country. And I guess, real quickly, Doctor, to answer your question, I didn't buy one car. During my tenure, we bought 2 cars. So, but that is a big stretch. So.
Wow. So, Chief, can you talk a little bit about how BlueBridge was created from the forerunning program from the program that you created in Kennewick? So can you talk about how that all came together?
You bet. Well, because as Brian mentioned before, the relationship between his uncle and myself, we've worked together on the police department. We've remained friends for over 40 years. And so I was feeding Brian information about the successes that we were having in Kennewick. During that time period, I was still very active, not only in state but national organizations as well, the International Association of Chiefs of Police, the FBI National Academy Associates. And, it was trying to get the word out about the opportunities. Some of my colleagues, like in Spokane and throughout the Tri-Cities, started to do similar things that what we were doing in Kennewick with our program. But I realized in order to really spread it throughout the state of Washington, or spread it further, and hopefully at some point nationally, that we needed to create really, there had to be a bridge between law enforcement and communities. And so, I continued to feed Brian information, and it was just a natural connection for us then to really try to pull together some great people that would put the time and effort and energy and had the background to be able to say, here's some opportunities for us to do that. And, since Brian was my go-to guy and I was getting closer to retirement, I just kept pushing more information to Brian and hopefully that we're going to get the funding source to be able to continue this and move it beyond the state of Washington.
Wow. You know, Brian, I read where you were quoted as stating a small gesture can make a huge difference in someone's life. What feedback, if any, have you received regarding this amazing program?
Oh, we get feedback every day. So, to kind of, piggyback on what Chief Hohenberg just said. Once we started the program, we knew that law enforcement agencies would struggle to just put a program like this in place. There's a lot that goes into being able to run a program like this. So when we got together and decided we wanted to really branch out and take this out to agencies, we wanted to make sure that it was, seamless for agencies and as frictionless as possible for them to implement. That we had guidelines, standards, and procedures and technologies for them to be able to run the program. And so bringing this back to your question, I get to see now that we actually have 9 departments in participating in BlueBridge in our pilot program. We hope to have close to 100 by this time next year. But I get to see every morning the reports from officers in the field and how they used, the BlueBridge program. And officers might only use the program once or twice a month. Yes. But part of using it is really reporting and telling us exactly what the situation was. We want to hear, who, in terms of from a demographic standpoint, who the recipient of the aid was. We want to hear how that made the officer feel, and how it actually not only just helped the recipient, but also helped maybe it was relieve a bigger situation that they were able to relieve, and so every single day I get to see these reports and see how officers in the field are like, it made me feel really good to be able to do this. Example is a couple of weeks ago, an officer pulled over a car because the brake lights were out. And it so happened that this car was running, one of the delivery services, I think it was like a food delivery, not Uber Eats, but maybe something similar to that. And so the officer pulls the vehicle over and said, "Hey, do you know why I pulled you over?" And they said, "Well, I think our blinkers aren't necessarily working properly." And she said, "Actually, your brake lights are out and your blinkers aren't working, and that's a pretty dangerous situation." And they said, "We're struggling. We're doing this food delivery stuff to make ends meet." And she said, "I tell you what. There's an auto parts store 2 blocks down. Let's go over there, and I'm going to buy you, some new bulbs for your tail light." And so she fixes it for him instead of giving them a ticket and sending them into, a situation where now they've got a ticket. They're already struggling. Yes. And now they've got a ticket, maybe a court date, and all of the expenses that go on with that. This officer eliminated that problem and also made the road safer, because we all know that, without brake lights, it might have turned into a really bad situation that altered everybody, a bunch of people's lives. So there's a bigger picture to it as well. And this officer stated in her report, she goes, when I got back to the station after my shift, I sat there for 2 minutes in my car thinking about, it made me feel really good to be able to help these people, because I've been in that situation before where I was struggling to make ends meet. And I know that that has a transformational effect on people. And so, it's those types of things that I'm lucky enough to see every single day in these reports, that feeds me and feeds our group of people in terms of motivation and making sure that we're on the right path and doing what we're doing.
Chief, this definitely must increase law enforcement morale. Would you agree? That's a truthful statement.
Totally, Doctor. And I think it reaffirms and empowers them to do what they know in their heart is right. And they don't have to second guess themselves about, can we afford to do this or not? And I know a lot of my colleagues would ask me about, well, what kind of parameters do you have? And when we started this program out, we said, if you feel it's the right thing to do in your heart, do it. Now, if you spend $5,000, I'm probably going to ask some questions, right? But most of these things, just like Brian's talking about, are $100, $50, a couple of $100, depending on the circumstances. But we've had people that have been victims of a crime. We had a lady that her home was burglarized, an elderly lady, and she was living in a home without heat. She had a fireplace, but no firewood. Our officers went out and bought her a cord of firewood and stocked her up and got her utilities turned back on for her. So, it just depends on the circumstances, but they are in the right position to make decisions about what needs to be done. And they also vet out the people that are trying to scam them too, right? And that's an important part of the process as well.
That's all of these things are just great to hear. Just great to see that the community law enforcement are working together. And I think that need to be a nation. I think that need to be a model for all states and cities and community. We're going to take a station break. Well, we're going to come back. We're going to pick it up. We got some more that we're going to talk about it. And it's not too late to be part of the conversations out there, viewers. You know what to do. 1-866-577-2473. Comments, go to it. Ask questions. We'll get you on. It's your life. I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley. We'll be back with some more of these two great gentlemen shortly after the break.
There's more stories of greatness to help you overcome adversity coming up on It's Your Life with James Cooley.
Our primary mission is to help build a foundation of our youth and young adults and communities. And we encourage everyone to dream big, think big, and be big at everything you do. And the way that you do that is, first of all, you got to believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself. You have to know that you are here for a purpose. You also have to be able to step out your comfort zone and do things that you probably didn't think that you can do.
Noah Dingley here, producer of The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. And the new audio version of James' book, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet, is a must-have. James shares his true life story of struggle and success in America. It's both a cautionary tale and a roadmap to achieving the American dream. Get the new audio version of Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by James Cooley on Amazon.com or wherever audiobooks are sold.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's Your Life, and this is so extraordinary to be able to share with the world, actually share with communities that the partnerships that are out there that's going on between our law enforcement and our communities, nonprofits. These are some of the things that we need to get out there, because most people only look and expect to hear the negative things. They need to know the whole story. And I think that used to be Paul Harvey said the rest of the story. So this is so incredible that you all come together with organization, you're working to spread this. How can we get this to be a model of all of the United States and all communities? What are your thoughts on that, Brian?
Well, we have a long way to go. I mean, obviously, as everybody knows, starting out a nonprofit is a very expensive venture. And we were lucky that we were able to secure a grant to get this pilot program off the ground last year. We're just finishing that up. We are raising money to continue to grow and scale the program. One of the unique things about our program is that it's designed to be locally supported. So each agency that has the BlueBridge program is really supported by their community. And luckily, all of the agencies that are currently have a BlueBridge program have incredible support from their communities and have done fantastic things in terms of making sure it's sustainable. Now, the challenging part, and this is what makes it unique, is that we also need money from the operational standpoint to keep the lights on for these programs. And so, that's challenging because we don't want to, obviously we don't want to be competing for funds in the communities, between what the officers actually need to have the program there and what we need to keep the lights on. So, we continue to work with, foundations and government grant programs to try and secure funds to again scale the program beyond the pilot that we have currently.
How can the public donate to this organization, Chief?
So I'll let Brian talk about the various ways to donate, Doctor, if I could. And the one thing, though, that I would like to make clear, if I could, it's, one of the reasons why it's important to have a mechanism for law enforcement agencies to be able to empower people to help this way is across the country, states, agencies just can't gift public funds, right? I can't, as a police department in Kennewick, I couldn't have a line item budget where the city put $100,000 in there for our officers to go out and buy people things. It's just, that's gifting public funds. And so that's the reason why when we first created our program in Kennewick, my two buddies and myself kicked in $1,000 each to get some funding, and then he went out and raised funds within the business community. So that's a direct handoff to Brian as to what we are doing for BlueBridge.
Okay, Brian.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happens when an agency starts a BlueBridge program. It takes usually 2 to 3 months for them to get the word out to the community. And to be able to, start really collecting funds, and we have each agency has, a spot on our website to where, if somebody locally wants to contribute online to their local BlueBridge program, there's a place for them to do that, and that money goes directly into their local program and stays local. And then for our more operational funding. The donate, the donate tab directly on our website, which is BlueBridgeAlliance.org, has that. A lot of people also like to send checks. They're not comfortable with online donations, but also a lot of people these days can contribute through their, through their either retirement funds or their investment funds, and so we're set up to be able to take those, and we have different email addresses on our site for people to reach out if they have questions about doing that, and if they'd like to do that. We have the ability for foundations to reach out to us and say, hey, as a group, we have money to contribute. And so, we've been lucky to have some of that already, and we hope that people will continue to support us.
Well, we got a couple of comments here. Fire and Life Talk They said this is a great concept. It's working in Fort Worth, Texas. Soji says this is an outstanding experience. And Joshua Goldsmith had a question. How do you feel about artificial intelligence entering the law enforcement space, and what impact do you think it will have in general on the profession? So I'm going to give that question to you, Chief.
Thank you. That's a wonderful question. And, one of the things that people hate is because you always say it depends, right? It depends on how it's utilized. It depends on how it progresses. And one of the things that I've told people, it's even, before I retired, our officers are equipped with body cameras, in-car dash cameras as well. And, technology does not replace public trust. And people build that public trust. And that's really the foundation of what we're talking about here today. I think we could spend a whole day talking about AI. That could be another program, right? And not just in law enforcement, but just in general, what's happening across the country. It's happening within our financial institutions as well. But with all of that said, it really depends on how it's utilized. And the one expectation I think that communities across this country have is they have to be able to trust their police department. Because as I mentioned before, in Kennewick, it's not like you only have one place to turn. It's not like going shopping. You can go to JCPenney's, you can go to Macy's, you can go to Nordstrom's, you can pick where you want to go. But if you need services from your local law enforcement agency, you need to be able to trust that department.
Wow. We're down to about the last couple of minutes of the show. What are some takeaways that you want our viewers and listeners to get from this great discussion? We'll start with you, Brian.
Well, I hope that that one of the big takeaways is that, policing is always evolving, and sheriffs and chiefs around the country are always looking for, innovative solutions to be able to help their communities. And, countless studies show that the closer the relationship between law enforcement officers and their communities means lower crime. It means better trust in law enforcement, and crime rates and violence go down. So that's a really big thing. The other thing is, officers are constantly having contact with great people that are in a tough situation, and when they're in a position to be able to help those people, it helps everybody. But beyond that, oftentimes the BlueBridge isn't really the best solution in a certain situation. But having that tool makes it easier for officers to talk to people. It makes it easier for people to talk to officers too. And in that contact that they have with somebody, they can actually connect them with services and organizations that might better fit their problem that they're having. So, just because in any given situation, BlueBridge might not be the right solution, at least it provides that contact in a non-enforcement setting for officers to be able to take it further and help people with, the services and organizations that can help them long term.
Well, I really appreciate you all taking the time to come on the show. We out of time. This was an absolutely wonderful conversation. We might have to get together and do this again. So I want to thank you guys for coming on the James Cooley Show. It's your life, a message that I think is going to inspire other communities and other cities to want to do the same thing. I'd like to thank Dr. Michelle Cooley for putting together another outstanding program. Most importantly, I'd like to thank our viewers and our listeners out there for always tuning into the James Cooley Show. It's your life. I'd like to thank my producer, KCBQ, Todd Pirate. And I want everybody to always dream big, think big, and be big at everything you do. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. It's your life. I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley. I'll see you there.
Thanks for joining us for the James Cooley Show. It's your life. To learn more about Dr. James Cooley and how you can support the show or become a guest, visit CooleyFoundation.org. Join James for more motivation and inspiration to help you become equipped today for the challenges of tomorrow. This has been It's Your Life with Dr. James
Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Thank you guys.
This is
Well, thanks.
amazing. This is an amazing thing that you're doing for the communities. And, I know the goal is to expand that, but like you said, it's going to take some time, and nonprofits are really hard to kind of get off the ground. But just thank you.
Well, thank you all for having us on. We were honored to be on the show, and felt like that went pretty well.
It went extremely well, and
Yeah.
it's just I know we opened the minds of a lot of communities, a lot of states, whoever were watching this, because I do believe a partnership like that is necessary. I do believe getting trust back, just like you mentioned, Chief. Getting the trust of the people back on both sides are necessary. And this is I wouldn't say a great start. It's an absolutely wonderful start. It's just being able to communicate this with other police chiefs and community leaders and get them to contribute through funding to help support these type of organizations and these type of functions.
If there's anything that we can do on our end to, let's say, promote it, I don't know if you guys have any videos or anything to promote this amazing organization, definitely let us know.
Sounds great. We have a few different things that we can send over, and we really appreciate